Hello, 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 and welcome to the Cheap Seats. It is your weekly English Premier League show that discusses all things happening in the Premier League. We didn't have a show last week because it was some sort of a mid-season break, and everyone was watching AFCON. I hope you were watching Mo Salah tear it up in Cameroon. But remember, we are partnering with Classic Shirts ZA, and they are our partners for this period on the show. And a Classic Shirts ZA, you can go to their website. I'm just trying to find the email, the details of the not the email, the website details. Sorry, yes, classicshirts.za. If you go there, or Classic Shirts ZA on their Instagram, go check them out. Please do follow them, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We've got our shirt of the week.
Before we get the shirt of the week, has anybody seen the little teaser they keep throwing out at us? It's gotten me very interested of that Bafana.
Oh, yes.
They keep throwing out teasers that they'll be launching this soon and a price to be revealed and all sorts, and it's gotten me quite excited.
Yes, we might do a giveaway with that, but I'm not too sure if it'll go past us.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm giving that shirt away.
And the winner is and Paul Wahid Cyrus.
Yes, but the shirt of the week, guys, shirt of the week. This one has me salivating. They want my money, and then I'm going to give them more of my money. It's Germany's kit in Italian 90. It is really, really good quality, really amazing shirt. As a pseudo-German fan, when it comes to European football, this one speaks to me. But remember, you can go to their website at Cheap Seats at classicshirts.co.za. And buy the shirt using our discount code CheapSeats50. Remember, you can do that. And yeah, anybody have Germany inclinations? I know Dean and Wahid love England, but
I'm a Germany Deutschland. I've got German family. I've got a couple of German kids. I absolutely love watching the German team. One of my favorites is Oliver Bierhoff, who's got possibly the best headers I've ever seen in my life. And the fact that it was also sponsored by Head & Shoulders was just a match made in heaven. That Germany team, unbelievable. And that kit has so many good memories. Rudi Voller, Lothar Matthäus, love it.
I think
good memes if you're a little bit older. So,
Classic Kits ran a poll, and I think that was voted as the best kit on their website by people on their Instagram or something along those lines.
People who know good things.
Yes,
it's just good looking though. Like it's just a good looking kit.
And who won that World Cup?
Didn't they win?
They did. They won.
That was my point. A sexy kit for a sexy win.
Okay, guys. So the transfer window has come and gone. It is the other side of February now. So that means we're going to do a post-mortem of the transfer window. Something happened very interestingly last night. I'm really angry about it, so I'm going to talk about it first. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang was let go on a free to Barcelona by Arsenal, who actually brought nobody in. And I don't know about you guys, which I'm asking you guys because you guys are rival fans, but I want to ask Cyrus first. I don't know how you feel about that because I don't take kindly to letting go of a striker who scored 92 goals, even though his disciplinary record is a little bit, it hasn't been great. I kind of feel like they just needed to put both him and Arteta in a room, tell them to thrash it out, and then after that, Aubameyang comes back and leads the line. Cyrus, do you agree with that, or do you are you with the crowd that says he had to go?
Let's look at how these things have been treated over the years and look at some of the key examples at different clubs that we support, right? So one of my favorites is looking at Man United, mainly because when it hurts them, it brings joy. Look at what happened with Roy Keane and Sir Alex Ferguson. At some point, Roy Keane just got, as they'd call him, too big for his boots and started throwing his weight around and was just told, look, you were one of the greatest captains this club has ever seen, emphasis on were. And I think that Aubameyang has had a similar effect. And this also goes back to the very same FA Cup final that I had mentioned being a really bad one for Arsenal to have won, because it meant a lot of really interesting things. You look at the guys who won that FA Cup final, how many of that team are still playing at a high level? And the other thing for me about that is when you look at what Aubameyang has done in the last couple of years, he hasn't been playing at the level at which we know he's capable of.
Mhm.
But that's also because Arteta has been trying to use him in a completely different way that just doesn't suit him. So it wouldn't surprise me if Aubameyang's been saying to him, "Look, boss, that's just not going to get the best out of me." And Arteta's like, "Well, that's how we're playing," and then it's just downhill from there. I think that the decision to let him go on a free is absolutely ridiculous. Even if you get £5 million back, let it be 5 million.
Anything.
A couple of youngsters do a swap deal. Kids you've never seen of or heard of before. Buy a piece of grass at La Masia. Something because you can see the PR narrative here that's they're trying to spin it in terms of the wage savings. It's absolute BS. That is just trying to save face with a club that has no plan around what they're going to do. If you're going to let him go for free, then just let him go. The fact that it was like, oh, he happens to be in Barcelona, maybe we'll get a deal done. No. They tried to fleece them. They couldn't. Barca basically called their bluff and they were like, just keep him. It's fine.
Yeah.
Arsenal look like real idiots.
But
Yeah.
can that lead into the next one, into the next discussion about Arsenal? Is that they've gone and let Aubameyang go and 5 other players go from an already paper thin squad. So
paper thin that they couldn't play Spurs. Let's not forget.
Yeah. We just don't have enough guys. But we're giving
we've got no one. But let's sell everyone.
Yeah. So my question is it not a bit ridiculous to start letting players go on loan and on free and not replacing them when you're writing the Premier League and saying, sorry guys, we can't fulfill our fixtures at the moment?
Absolutely.
There wasn't even the request from Barcelona for like a Dennis Suarez, or who was that other Swedish guy you got, Kim Karlstrom. Surely you now enter the loan market just for a few players to come in. A few players to come in to just get some players on the bench. Even if you're asking for some La Masia graduates for some work experience. I mean, Arsenal have been work experience FC for a while.
Yes.
I'm sure. Surely that's the way you go.
Well, I'm with you there completely. The problem for me was, if you look at Lacazette and Nketiah, you're sitting there going, "Oaks, no, this can't be the strike force."
Nketiah was pushing to leave, wasn't he? Wasn't Nketiah also pushing to leave?
Yes. Yeah. So, and both of them are going to leave in July. Yeah. This is the final 6 months of their contract. The other problem I'm having is you're chasing fourth. You're in and around there. So, what does that say to me as a fan when you have an 18-man squad?
You're not chasing fourth. You the fans thought you were chasing fourth. The club already knows where they are.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, but it was
also I don't know. Well, are you not loading bullets that your guns can't handle because you're chasing players that are maybe a little bit above your league,
above your station?
You're talking about players that have no desire in joining Arsenal.
This is like when you go to the nightclub and you spot Rihanna there, and you're like, "Hey, I'm a guy, she's a girl," anything's possible. Is that what you're saying, Wahid?
Yeah, well, he's saying that, and I agree completely. The only problem about it at times is that Arteta's now gone the other way. He's gone for the guys that nobody wants but have promise, or too young. Well, yeah, they're young. They've got promise, and he's hoping that curve will help elevate the team. Whereas on the other hand, previously guys were trying to go for the stars and landing with Kim Karlstrom or Dennis Suarez on the deadline. The great thing about this one is that they didn't bring anybody in that was weird, like a Dennis Suarez, and you're like, why are you guys doing? But if they knew Auba was going, and I'm sure they knew last week because he came back from Cameroon about 10 days ago. If they knew that this thing was going to happen, why couldn't they have figured out a way or a plan to get something? For instance, you let Balogun go out on loan. I wouldn't have minded having Lacazette, Nketiah, and Balogun as your three, knowing that if Balogun will probably be your starter. But that's the one for me that just bothers me. Cyrus?
So, Paul, I want to say this first and foremost. It firstly feels like somebody's trying to rip everything to the ground in that club, from your director of football all the way through to your head coach. It is unbelievable that this kind of thing happens and Arteta's just quiet. He's just going to go out and train with his guys, and he just says, "No,
they're in Dubai. No one's talking."
But you understand what I'm saying, right? Like, this is one of the biggest and most pivotal moments in the club's history, in the sense that you're not just letting go of a player. This is your club captain. And this is how many captains who've actually said, this is just too much for me, right? There's another portion of this that is really, really, really interesting. And that comes down to when there is a problem up front, no Nketiah, no Lacazette, and you have to start making a plan as to who's going to fill that space, who's going to be your false nine, and nobody's spoken once about any academy talent who you'll be like, well, luckily for us, X, Y, and Z blogs Zinski, who didn't want to sign for Spurs.
We've loaned him out.
Doesn't it
Cyrus,
show that
we loaned out the guy.
But you guys don't want to play him
out.
anyway. You don't want to play him anyway, else you would have played him against us.
So that's my point, is that you cannot see what the overall idea is. And the fact that things are just going to go back to life as normal after this. If Arsenal lose their next game, who are they playing in the next fixture?
It is.
We should know this.
Isn't it Wolves?
I think it is. I'd seen it just
Burnley.
now.
Yes, Wolves. Wolves next week Thursday. We drew the Burnley.
Right. So, so you play Wolves, which is not an easy fixture by any stretch of the imagination, right? And generally it isn't. But you look at that and you think, we thought we'd seen Arsenal Fan TV reach its peak before. We've not seen anything yet.
It's gonna go down.
Yeah.
But can I also add in, so that my favorite thing about this whole Arsenal transfer business is, I was watching it on Twitter and you guys were linked to that Alexander Isaac Oak from Real Sociedad.
Yeah, because he was in London on holiday.
He was in London and he went and got a Rolls Royce or something and he made the number plate Isaac. And everyone was like, no one does that if you're not moving to London. He's definitely coming to Arsenal. And that is how desperate Arsenal fans are right now, that they are tracking number plates of potential strikers.
I wish it was just Arsenal fans, but we've seen many a fan track the flights of the weirdest people.
Yes.
Just because
tracking flights is fine.
You were tracking Dean.
Yeah.
You were tracking the flights of Kulishevsky and Bentancur to just make sure they landed.
Tracking flights of Gareth Bale. Tracking flights of
definitely
Gareth
were.
So, Dean, speaking of Spurs, how are you happy with this transfer window? You brought in the Juve pair of Kulishevsky and Bentancur. I don't know if Kulishevsky is going to start, but we'll see about that. But then on the other end, you let go of some guys I thought were pretty good. Ndombele, Howard Wolowitz as in Brian Gill. Dele Alli's now finally gone. But how do you feel about your transfer work?
So it was a very interesting window from a Spurs perspective, because obviously we were massively linked to Traore. And I think he would have done well at Spurs. I think Conte, because I think what all Spurs need is someone to break the line and pass the ball, because that's literally, we just have no one that can carry the ball. So Traore he holds the record in the league.
Just jump in and say, I think Adama Traore is shit. He's a poor man.
The thing is, if you play Traore as
ball skills of a 9-year-old,
he's got more ball skills than you, Wade. So
yes, but I'm not a professional footballer. I'm a chartered accountant.
He makes a great point.
But the thing is, if you play Traore as a winger and you need him to score goals, he's not going to do that. That's why I think in that right wing-back position at Spurs, he would have broken the line, passed it to Son or Kane, who can score, and boom, Bob's your uncle, more goals. But
he's with Aubameyang and that Dutch striker,
Martin Braithwaite,
Memphis to play at Barcelona. So that's going to be a fun front line.
Why are you leaving Braithwaite out of this?
He's not going to start. They're going to start 4 up front.
What a legend.
He is.
The thing is, like, his heart was always set on Barcelona.
Braithwaite
So
and
fine.
Adama Traore, who were playing for Middlesbrough 3 years ago, now leading the line for Barcelona.
Bosses, they knew something we didn't know.
But then, okay, so moving away from Traore,
Yeah.
fine, that was a disappointment. Then we had the whole Luis Diaz scenario from Porto, where Spurs agreed the fee, and then Liverpool were like, sorry for you, and then
they
he chose
Willian
Liverpool.
you.
And then we were like,
second time again.
I mean,
after Willian.
and I said it like, at least top clubs want to poach our transfers now. Like, at least it means our scouting is a little bit better than what it used to be.
They're waiting for you to do your job, which
Yeah.
is good. And
Which are like silver linings,
just watch,
you know?
Yeah, Liverpool used to just watch Southampton games and see what they could get.
Yeah.
Now they're trying to see what else other people are doing.
But so yeah, after those two failed things, I was up. Okay, it's pretty bad. But then obviously Paratici goes and does his shopping at Juventus, and I think getting in Bentancur and Kulusevski. I mean, to be honest, no one's here is going to say that they know a heck of a lot about those players. They sort from what I can see, Bentancur is going to sort out some of the midfield issues, which we were hoping Ndombele and Dele would be, and even Lo Celso. So I think getting 4 players out, 2 players in is a bit worrying. But we've got rid of players that Conte wasn't even going to consider putting on the starting 11, which you have to back. If my manager was still Nuno, I'd be asking questions. But now that the manager's Conte, you have to back Conte. He knows what he's seeing. He knows what he wants. He gets what he wants. So if he says, Lo Celso, you're not going to play, cheers, bro. Like, I'm all on board for you to be like, cool, Lo Celso go to Villarreal. So
I did tell him this Lo Celso guy is an absolute.
The Celso guy, for me, the biggest one that hurts the most is probably Dele going, because I think he will always have that soft spot in every Spurs fan's hearts, because he was fantastic.
He was a club favorite.
He had one good season. He had
one
season.
And Dean's about to mention Spurs' almost season of 15-16.
16-17.
One. There we go. Never a show where Dean doesn't mention it.
The thing is, like, he was great and he never kicked on. And we probably moved him on a little bit too late. And we paid the price for it. We're going to get like 10 million probably max from him.
No, it's not. It's a fee that can rise to 40 million pounds.
Yeah, but it's the same as your guys' Anthony Martial Ballon d'Or flipping clause that you guys got included in that deal. It's never going to happen. Like Everton, I think, have to win the league and then they pay us.
That is a good segue to Wahid.
Did they say which league? Because they might win the championship next season.
Well, I want to see. It'll be interesting to see what Lampard does at Everton. But let's talk about United. Let's talk about United.
Wahid. Speaking of Ballon d'Ors, has that clause now finished since Martial's now going out on loan? If he wins it from Seville.
Is it a loan with an obligation, or is it a loan with an option?
No, there's no obligation. There isn't even an option. It's a straight 6-month loan deal.
So the guy just wants to get
United. I think it's a shop window loan deal. Stick him in the shop window, see what he can do elsewhere, and see if we can get more bites on this player now, who obviously doesn't want to play for Man United. Maybe doesn't really fit into the way Man United want to play football going forward.
The other one is Donny. The other one is Donny. So those two. So are you happy about both of them?
Man United's transfer window. It's a mixed bag, and I see there's again quite a lot of reaction reviews on United's transfer window. In terms of the outgoings, I don't think there's any outgoings that surprised me in general. Axel Tuanzebe off to Napoli, I think, is a really good loan for his development. I think that loan for Donny is a very good, very good at this point. I mean, I don't think Donny could have been tearing it up in training if 3 managers looked at him and said no thanks. It's not like it was Ole. It's not like it was just Michael Carrick. It's now Ralph Rangnick, who's come in with an absolutely clean mind and looked at him and said, no, not for me.
Not for me.
Yeah, I think that Donny has done himself a good, got himself a good loan insofar as that he's gone off to a club where he might play some games, and he's treading water to potentially just get United to the next coach. Because if that coach happens to be Erik ten Hag, then Donny's probably in a very good position. Whereas if it's someone else, Donny might need to just reassess his options for his career from a career perspective.
Stay with Super Frank.
Yeah.
Is Donny a
Look,
loan obligation?
I'm not
No.
certain. If I were Donny, I probably would have chosen Crystal Palace at this point. Everton to me seemed like a bit of a sinking ship, and I don't think Lampard has done much more than have a good footballing family to get the jobs he gets. I don't think he's very good at his job.
Yeah.
He took Derby from 6th to 6th. He didn't do well at Chelsea. I think if his name wasn't Frank Lampard, he wouldn't be getting these jobs. To be
I guess
perfectly honest,
if he wasn't one of the best players to have ever played in his generation, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, same as the likes of Steven Gerrard, or dare we say, who was that Man United guy who happened to be manager? Oh, Ole, yeah, that's it. But I hear you though. Although I'm going to come in here because I know you've got a few more points to make about the United exits, Wahid. I look at the Everton situation, and when you look at one of the biggest problems at Everton, it's always been a lack of serious creativity. When they did have it in fits and starts, when James was actually pretty good when he
For like
started
half
there,
a season.
they suddenly looked like a good team. But there's a heck of a lot that Lampard has to do behind the likes of Dele Alli and Donny van der Beek that really needs addressing. And I don't see Alan being the Kante that bails them out of deep stuff when they're all attacking at the same time. So I think that there's going to be some real worldies scored by the likes of Ali and even Donny, because I think they're similar players. But I also feel as if the defensive frailties will be what will be a major issue, because they've got a few Ryan Masons and the likes of those.
That's been Everton's hallmark so far. They're a team who don't necessarily have a direction, and maybe go into the market and see which players are available, and then take their like direction from there. Not necessarily saying this is how we want to play football, this is how we want to go forward. More of a how.
But
who's
that's because they've had
available.
so many coaches. How do you even decide how
well,
you play?
They've got no football. They've got no director of football. I think that they're getting Kia Jarakian who's an agent to sort of like try and steady the ship, which makes sense. It's the most
But didn't Benitez get rid of the director of football?
Yes, they got rid of the director of football,
and
Brandt, and they got rid of Benitez. And again, it showed no footballing direction. They got rid of a really good player who was falling out of the manager, and then fired that manager.
Which is
but
good for Villa. Villa's had a really good window.
Yeah.
Yes, and we'll talk about Villa. Let's just move over, and I want to talk about
back to Man United. I didn't quite finish that because I was saying that.
No, we were done. Wait, we done.
Basically, like I'm not as upset as other fans, because I'm quite happy in terms of United not pulling in Everton, in terms of United not panicking and saying, let's buy someone, let's get someone in. Because we are in a situation of flux at the moment, and you don't want another situation of a manager buying players for himself when he might not be the long-term manager. And I'm actually glad that the board said no to players like Dennis Zakaria, whoever it was, who maybe Ralph wanted and had worked with before, because Ralph isn't going to be, well, we think that Ralph isn't going to be the manager long-term. So I'm happy that United didn't get sucked into that need for immediate gratification, and are sticking to their long-term plans and their long-term policy. Whether that goes to fruition in the summer, and whether they're able to get those players that they want in is another situation, because we might have a situation of 2 seasons ago where we can't get those in, and then we panic with the Donny. So I'm not sure how it's going to go, but I'm quite happy that we didn't panic in the market. And I mean, we didn't need to. Our squad is quite bloated. So I think getting Deadwood out and getting players who didn't want to be there out was probably more of a pressing need than bringing players in. Yes, I know there's a gaping hole in defensive midfield, but I mean, we have half a season to fill that void with the likes of Scott McTominay.
But quickly, so I think United, Spurs, and even Arsenal to an extent, all three of us know that you're not going to solve our club's problems in the winter transfer window. It's going to take 2, maybe another 3 more transfer windows of proper, really good business to get in the players we need to, get out the players we have to, and then we can kick on. I agree with you, Wahid. United had a better window getting rid of the players that they don't need than bringing in average
Yes.
rubbers.
But-
Same with
but-
Spurs getting rid of random
Yeah.
players we're never going to play and bringing in 2 guys which
Mm.
could. Same, exactly the same.
Yeah. Cyrus, one last point before we move on to
Yeah.
the rich boys.
The last thing to say about that is when you buy in Jan, it's often to do one of two things: save yourself from relegation, or really try and push to make into the Champions League places if you feel you're that close. I'm not saying United feel that they're not there, or Spurs don't feel that they could make like fourth or third even. But I do think that they looked at it and said, what is available to us on the market that is not coming at a premium that we can definitely go out and say, this is going to make us a better team. And every team would turn around and said, no, there isn't anything worthwhile for us.
Yes.
I mean, we look at Bruno Fernandes. He's a typical one like that. When we bought him, he was like the catalyst in taking us from 6th to 3rd in that season. And unless you can get a player of that caliber in who's going to do that kind of job for you, then rather keep your money in your pocket for the summer transfer window.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, the rich boys, the guys who had to spend in January, because if they didn't, they probably would get relegated. Newcastle went into the market. They got Trippier, they got Bruno Guimaraes, they've got Matt Target, or they let go of Matt Target, they got Dan Burn in. They also let go of one of the Longstaff brothers.
No, Target's signed.
Target's in from Villa.
Oh, Target's in.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes, Target's
Yeah.
in from Aston Villa, and Chris Wood up front.
Matty Longstaff is gone. As well as
Matty's gone.
Jeff.
Did
No,
they
thank
let
God.
go?
No, that Longstaff pair just loves scoring. I'm so thankful that they're gone. Like, honestly, they don't play for 6 months. They play against United and score. I hate the
Sean's still
Longstaff
there.
brothers.
But
Yes.
you should.
So my question is to you, Dean, starting. Then we'll go to Sas, then Wahid. Have they done enough to make sure they survive relegation? Because that's the first start.
I think they may have just done enough to finish above relegation now. I think for me, the bigger problem that they had in that squad was around the midfield. And this Bruno Guimaraes that they signed, fine, again, none of us can say that we watch Ligue 1 and are avid Lyon, fans. But from the people who do, they really rate him. So I think he's going to bring a lot of pressing forward in that team if he does work the way that people are expecting him to do. And that could then mean really good things for people like St. Maximin, Chris Wood going forward. And then Trippier as well, bringing those balls in. He can deliver quality, and we all know Chris Wood is the person that loves to jump and bang them in with his head. So I think going forward, they look to solve those issues. And then at the back, I mean, Sven Botman also came out and said that he had 2 contract offers on the table, one from Milan and one from Newcastle, and then he turned them down. So they definitely went out shopping to try and fix some of these defensive areas. And bringing in Matt Target, he's a good player. He's not a game changer, but he'll do the job for you. So Trippier on the right, Target on the left. It's not a bad combination. And then Burn in the middle. I mean, Brighton's defense is really good, so you hope he's going to bring in some of that for Newcastle. So I think they've done enough to stay up now. It's now just a case of, we all know when you bring in a massive bunch of brand new signings, they don't just click straight away. There's a period of learning. There's a period where they need to get to know each other. So the players on paper looks like they could stay up, but whether or not they're going to click in time, there's only a few more weeks left of the season. So are they going to click in time for them to stay above the season? Because I mean, I don't know where they are. I mean, they are bottom 3 here. So
they're bottom 3. They're on 15 points. Norwich on 16, and Everton.
I'm more worried about the players around it. Like Watford are looking
Everton on 19
at the moment.
Everton on 19. I think that Everton and Norwich are more likely to be sucked into that relegation battle based on current form, and Newcastle probably making a step away from it at some point. They were playing. Maybe the results weren't following it, but since Eddie Howe's come in, they have been playing a lot better than season. They are playing very well.
Yeah.
I mean, they played us off the park, which isn't difficult. I mean, anybody can do that. But,
I love how the standard of how a team is good or bad lies with Manchester United.
Yeah.
then Brighton are absolutely incredible for having done what they did against Chelsea. But
They
yeah,
are, though.
they're a good team.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because you look at that bottom. I mean, firstly, the COVID postponements have given us an unreal table. You've got Burnley
Yeah.
bottom of the log with 12 points, but they've only played 18 games. Then they're only like, what is that, 4 points behind the likes of Norwich, who've played 4 more games. Norwich are clearly going down. There's no question of it. Watford, I think, are also definitely relegation bound.
Well, they fired their second coach
Now
in the
without
season.
Ranieri, it's a disaster.
I mean, Chipper United, we've seen these things. You know, it happens in football.
But Chipper doesn't get relegated. That's the difference.
No, that is the difference. Though, let's go back to it, right? When we then look at that potential, that third spot, who could be going down? If we're saying Watford and we're saying Norwich are definitely out, you're leaving Burnley, Newcastle, Everton, and potentially Leeds in that sort of pack fighting for survival. I'd even say Brentford aren't wholly out of the turmoil just yet.
It will be interesting to see now.
I personally think it's Burnley. Burnley are definitely going down. They've managed to tread water for so long and have not done anything to change their fortunes. It's just been, okay, hit and hope, let's see what happens. And every season they've just found that there are worse teams out there than they have been. And
sorry, talking about games in hand, but games in hand make absolutely no difference because Burnley have no wins in 5.
No, exactly. But still they have to play Norwich and Watford.
But they signed Wout Weghorst from...
So he's going to be great in the championship. But
like Alexander Mitrovic, same
exactly it. But the point I was going to make, right, was that Burnley are bad when they're not beating Arsenal. And that's just to show you, because those are the bogey team, right? They come in there, they lump the ball in, and then Chris Wood, Ashley Barnes, absolute insanity is happening, and that hasn't saved them. And they generally go through a run of about maybe 7 or 8 games where they pick up 4 or 5 wins on the trot, and then you're like, okay, Burnley are safe. And I just don't see them doing it. So that's why I think the likes of Everton, Newcastle, and Leeds need to pull up their socks, but they should survive this. It's just that looking at Newcastle in particular, I think Dan Burn will be a really good addition for them. And he's the kind of defender, well, let's put it this way. Most of the guys that they've brought in have Premier League experience. And that's one thing that's really helps Newcastle.
Yeah.
Because these guys know what the pace is, they know exactly how tough the tackling is. Clubs that have gotten money in the past have just bought big international names, and the likes of Joe just found the going particularly tough, when they first came to the league. So when I look at Newcastle, I say, okay, fine. So you've got the Matt Targett on the left. That sorts out your left back issue. You've got Kieran Trippier on the right.
Matt Targett being Newcastle's answer to Wayne Bridge once upon a time in City. They've done a quite a similar thing there. It's Bridge for Targett and Trippier for Zabaleta. Those were like some of the first signings in that City side, and Newcastle have gone and looked at that and said we can almost replicate that.
But I think they also looked at the problem areas and said, as much as you might like some of the guys who had been playing for Newcastle, they just weren't up to snuff. Whereas somebody like Kieran Trippier has great international experience, has been playing on the continent.
He was key to Atletico Madrid's title win as well. So
exactly. And let's not forget, even England's runs in the different tournaments, he's been fairly good for them. You look at Matt Targett, and the biggest problem for him is that he just isn't who the coach really wants at the moment. But it's not as if he's a bad player. So, and we look at the rest of that Newcastle backline, and Lascelles is the kind of player we'd all be like, you know what? You wouldn't begrudge him being in a different club. He's a good player. So Dan Burn gives you the sort of solid, let's lump the ball out of here. It's just the goalkeeper's still a bit of a nightmare situation, but you'll deal with that. It's just, I feel they're at least still one midfielder short of getting themselves out of trouble properly. Because
apparently they went to Gini Wijnaldum, they went to PSG and said, listen.
Wijnaldum was
straight away,
Paris, and you're telling me to leave Paris to go to Newcastle? This is the city of light.
That's not happening,
Not the stadium of light. So, you look at that and you realize, I think that Guimaraes will be a good player for them going forward, but he has to acclimatize. So they have to lean on it. I mean, there's only so much juice you can squeeze out of a John Joe Shelby, and boy, are they trying. But I think that they'll manage. I don't understand Chris Wood. I do think he is the kind of guy who, given enough chances, will put one or two away. They've got Joe Linton, guys.
Look, yes, that's what I was going to say, Cyrus. It's better than having Joe Linton in center midfield. That's all that matters to me.
Yeah.
The fact that Guimaraes is there, we won't see Joe Linton again. Unless there's an injury.
You hope.
Yes. But that shows how good Eddie Howe was. He just figured out that Joe Linton could play DMF. And
he's an unbelievable coach. And what I like about Eddie Howe as the Newcastle coach is, come the summer, when they can actually then sign some really good players, guys who can actually do it, something on the ball and move the ball around, we'll see a far better standard of football out of Newcastle than we have in many a year. I do think they're going to stay up. They might even have to buy some refs, but whatever they need to do, Newcastle are not going down.
Are Everton going down, Wahid?
Yeah, well, based on current form, I honestly have been so far from impressed by Everton. I think they may get sucked into that relegation battle. Whether they go down or not, I'm not sure. But they have been awful. They have no direction.
That's Benitez. It's Benitez. Rafa Benitez is so past it. Everybody talks about how bad Jose Mourinho has been, right? And with it's all true. Mourinho just hasn't been that guy. But Benitez is potentially even worse than Mourinho was, because that Everton team is not a terrible team by any stretch, right? When you look at some of the players that they have,
Doucouré, Allen, they shouldn't be in that position.
They also had massive injury problems this season. DCL's been missing for the whole season, and Doucouré's had his own injury problems. So there have been those issues. But yeah,
Dean, Harry Kane's been missing the whole season.
Yeah,
and you guys have managed.
So Everton they shouldn't be where they are, but they should be higher. But at the same time, they've had their troubles. But
they're going to score goals. If there's one thing, and as much as Dean has hated on Frank Lampard's coaching ability, what he did do at Chelsea was get them going forward and scoring goals. And he's going to unlock a lot of those players and allow them to just feel free to go out and score. Whether it becomes a Kevin Keegan, we'll try to score more than you on the day, is yet to be seen. But I do think, how's that for an old man reference?
Yeah, I know. I was like, wow. Well, geez, Cyrus, 90s.
But I do think that
we just talked about Newcastle, and now you're bringing up Kevin Keegan, and now we can go into that whole 96 situation.
Whoa, okay,
there we go.
Okay,
there we go.
Cyrus, final point, and then we'll wrap this up.
So here's the thing about Everton, right? They've signed El Ghazi, who's a pretty good player. They've got Damari Gray, who's also pretty good. Richarlison needs to be unlocked again, as he has been in the past. You've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who should be back. I'm not even going to... Andros Townsend has been pretty good too. I don't know if he plays as much. Salomon Rondon was the death knell for me. He is Everton's Joe Linton. And I couldn't believe that Benitez signed him. It absolutely made zero sense to me. But then you realize that's Rafa Benitez. He was at Newcastle managing to keep them afloat by basically signing the likes of Rondon, and then by signing him at Everton, allowed the team to go into a relegation battle because he just wasn't aiming for higher than staying in the league.
Okay. Final quick one. I'm going to go around the screen. Which team did well, and what signing do you think is the best one in January? I'm going to start with Wahid. Which team did well, and what signing?
Oh, which team did well? I'd say Newcastle. Like, honestly, I'd say Newcastle. I think that when we look at needs versus what they need to get to where they want to be, I'd say Newcastle probably did the best business. Liverpool added a little bit of stardust, maybe like to try and push City for a title in Diaz, who I've never watched, and I don't know if he's good or not, because
is he available now?
People will pretend like they watch the Portuguese league.
He should be.
And then, but then City went and matched them with the Julian Alvarez anyway.
But he's been loaned back.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of those signings are on for now. So Liverpool probably also anticipating Mohamed Salah or Sadio Mane leaving at some point. But anyway, I think that from looking at needs, I think that City went and sorted. Newcastle went and sorted out a lot of their issues. As Cyrus said, they sorted out that central defensive issue with Dan Burn coming in. They sorted out those wide defensive issues with Target and Trippier coming in. They sorted out a little bit of the spine with Guimaraes. Again, I've never watched him, but I've read about what he can offer. Apparently, a good solid holding midfielder who can add a little bit of stardust going forward. And then they've added Chris Wood, which I know we've said that doesn't make much sense. But when we look at a player like Kieran Trippier coming in, he's just going to load bullets for a player
and
like
Target
Chris
on
Wood.
the other end.
He's just that. So they bought a player who we're looking at and thinking, oh, that's a Burnley level player. But to get and again, remembering that Newcastle have no budget in place, so they'll buy a Chris Wood now and they'll upgrade him in the summer. Like that's their business model. It's again, City used to do that. City would buy Robinho one season, they'd buy Rocky Santa Cruz the next season, they'd buy Adebayor and they buy Tevez. They just keep upgrading the players.
Yes,
and I think Newcastle can do the same. Just buy the player who you need for now, and Chris Wood is going to do that.
Cyrus, who's done well this transfer window?
So it's a tie for me. Aston Villa, I think, could probably do the best. But I do like the work. Yeah, I mean, look, so does United. But I think the thing is, he's left already. I do think that Everton have done really good business compared to with the trouble they were in. I think bringing Frank Lampard in is also a really interesting one because there's a lot of English talent, a lot of young players in that team. And if there's one thing that they've sold as a narrative around Lampard is that he gives youth a chance, he lets people express themselves, and English players become better players underneath him. You just have to look at Mount, Reece James, and there's a couple more players like that, Tammy Abraham, Fikayo Tomori. Anyway, I won't go on about Chelsea. I think Everton have done really good business. I think that we're going to see the rejuvenation of Dele Alli, and I also feel as if Dele Alli's the way he could play at Everton will also help unlock the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, because Richarlison is the key for them in terms of trying to not just stay up, but become a team that could potentially beat Liverpool in the derby at some point in their lives.
Yes. And Dean, what's your team? Is it Aston Villa?
Yeah, for me, I think Aston Villa did their business early, which in this window, if you get it done early, it just gives you the rest of the month to at least get these players integrated, which is the biggest problem with the winter transfer window. Getting players like Deeney and Coutinho in is unreal for a Villa side who not that long ago were sitting bottom of the table with Dean Smith, or pretty much bottom side of the bottom half of the table with Dean Smith in charge. Didn't look like they knew what they were doing. So bringing in Steven Gerrard and then Coutinho and Deeney is really good business. And then also Callum Chambers from Arsenal, another player that Arsenal were like, we don't have enough, but you go, Villa is another one of ours.
They left us with Cedric Suarez, those bastards.
But I think Villa's done really well, and they are now a team that looks like they can challenge. Like they are pretty much pushing. They're not going to challenge top 4, but you wouldn't be. They can finish top 6, and you wouldn't be like bothered about it. So I think they've done really well, added cleverly to their squad, and now they look like they can unlock the likes of Bundia, who did amazing in the Championship last season, and now he looks like he can play again. So really good win by Villa.
So I'm stuck between Newcastle and Villa, but I must commend Burnley for just going out and not looking for a different type of a striker and getting a tall, lanky Wout Weghorst to come back in and try and do just as much as Chris Wood did. Not better, just as much. And they're probably going to get relegated. But that's the end of our show today, everyone. Thanks, guys, for coming through. Remember, we're in partnership with Classic Shirts ZA, so please go look at their catalog of kits on Classic Shirts ZA. Remember, we've got our shirt of the week, which is the Italian 90. Go back a few minutes to find out what it looks like, that Italian 90 German kit. Outside of that, thank you very much, guys, and see you. Have a great weekend. We've got football, Premier League football starting again on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
And that's going to lead us into a double game week for some people. So we've got an FPL show as well to kind of give you indication of what's going on. But outside of that, thank you very much. Goodbye, good night, and le sale kakagiso.